Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the United Star. And I've got Prashant Nair with me to talk about the only thing that's on the minds of United fans is Ralf Ragnick. And the biggest thing, sort of, I feel is uh, there are two sort of polar opposites and this is just sort of a prelude, and then Prashant will sort of come in. Is number one is that there are United fans who haven't heard of him at all and are treating him as he's going to be this messiah who's going to save us just because he is sort of the father of the German football, so to speak, especially Tuchel and Klopp. And number two, there are these fans who, again, most of them haven't heard of him, who are basically like, oh, he's going to be a disaster, and do not understand why he's been brought in. Obviously, as always, the truth and the reality of what he will do is somewhere in the middle. And yeah, Prashant, what are your views? And if you can just sort of,
Yeah,
what do
sure.
you expect from Ralph?
See, first and foremost, I don't think he's a messiah who's going to come and change our fortunes in 6 months. Let's be very honest that his appointment is only for 6 months as an interim manager. But what excites me most is the period after 6 months, where he'll take on the role as the consultant for 2 years, and Darren Fletcher and John Murtha can learn from one of the best technical directors or football directors who's going around in business. That excites me more or less. The season is gone for us as United fans, right? I mean, we are what, 11 points of champions, potential champions, which is Chelsea. UCL we kind of scrapped through thanks to Cristiano Ronaldo. Cup competition, I'm not very sure what's going to happen. So more or less, there is a lot to fight for the season, but I'm not very hopeful. So in 6 months, don't expect that he's going to set up like Liverpool or or someone like City, where we are going all guns and ballistic and stuff like that. That's not going to happen in 6 months. Ralph Rangnick always needs time, and if we were very patient with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, where we gave him 3 years, but it'll be very unfair on Ralph Rangnick to start changing the fortunes just because he is the father of Gegen pressing in 6 months, and then you expect, oh my God, Manchester United play like one of those German teams with high line, high pressing, no backward passes. And also, he does not have the resources to play that kind of a football right now. I mean, our midfield is still Matic, McTominay, and Fred. So, of course, I'm not counting Van de Beek because I don't know honestly what's with Van de Beek. So he's not going to change much.
I think you raise a very valid point. And in terms of the Gegan press as well, like, and obviously it's very enjoyable to watch. As you can see, I personally think it's with
Yeah.
Liverpool, I think it's a lot more prominent. I think this Chelsea team under Tuchel tends to, they do press, but I feel they also sort of tend to play a mid block more than
Yeah.
a sort of pressing style. But
Mm.
Liverpool is sort of all out,
Yeah.
high intensity football. So, in like you said, 6 months is a very less time. So, what kind of tactics do you realistically see him sort of implementing? Because I also agree that I think while he is the father of the Gegenpress
Mm.
and this sort of free flowing, high intensity football, within sort of the time he'll come and go, what is the realistic thing he can actually impose?
Yeah. So first and foremost, his tactics usually revolve around a 4-2-2-2. Where it's four at the back, two at the center, two as playing playmakers or offensive players, and then two forwards. Someone like a Timo Werner enjoyed that kind of a setup most of part of his life, right? So either it'll be one of that, or he will tweak it to a 4-4-2 for us. I completely understand when fans will say that, what, 4-4-2 is gone, done, dusted. It's one of those old things in football. But I think I've been saying this to you right from the start of season. This team is tailor made for 4-4-2. If you put, let's say, a Ronaldo and a Cavani up front, and you play any defense in the world, they are going to cause problems. I'm not going to say that they're going to score 8 goals in a game. Of course not. But they are going to cause problems. And on the two wings, you put Rashford and Jadon Sancho. That's another bit of worry for you. Now, the big question comes, who plays in the center too, right? You can't drop Bruno Fernandes, apparently, because he's one of the most important players for us in any system, because he's the guy who only has got creative brains. Paul Pogba is out till Feb minimum. So that one midfielder spot is the most crucial part. Who plays there? That's what Ralph Rangnick has to figure out. Will he go for a safety first approach of Matic playing there along with Bruno? That does not add up. You can't play a McTominay with Bruno. That does not add up. You can definitely play Fred and Bruno together. But then what happens to Van de Beek then? You can't play Van de Beek and Bruno there. It's a match which is not proper for the footballing setup of Ralf Rangnick, because assuming that the teams are going to press high, Bruno will press high, Van de Beek will press high, which means there's a big hole in the center. It'll be like a donut, right? We are crowded on the sides, but zero in the center. That's one. Another important thing which he has to figure out is the future of Harry Maguire. When I say the future of Harry Maguire, is he going to start again for us? When I say is he going to start again, who are you going to bench him for? Lindelof has been phenomenal. Eric Bailly has been blowing hot and cold. When Rafael Varane comes back, on what basis are you going to bench Lindelof now? Just because Harry Maguire is back and whose form has been absolutely shoddy. So Ralf Rangnick for the next 6 months has got a job equivalent to Ole. When I say equivalent to Ole, because when Jose Mourinho left, there was huge turmoil at Manchester United. Players didn't want to see each other. There was a lot of toxicity around. Players didn't want to play for the club, etc., etc. Now the players want to play for the club, but which players want to actually play for the club and which players has to be weeded out? That's an important phase of the club as well. Pogba's contract situation is another issue, which I'm sure Ralf Rangnick will sort at priority. So these are some of the things which I'm expecting him to do. In terms of tactics, I still think he will go for a 4-4-2 or more often than not, he likes his 4-2-2, but he does not have the resources to play a 4-2-2-2.
Yeah, and I'm going to come to one of the sort of transfer targets that has been talked about a lot with Ragnick. But one other important point I want to ask you is this, that if he does sort of, I mean, obviously, I think the intensity of the play will be much higher than what it is under Oli. And I think that's a very low bar anyway. But I think he will clear it by... No, because I mean, if you look at all the statistics about intensity, we are either 19th or 20th, which is shocking.
We're not 19th or 20th, we are 18th, 19th or 20th.
Okay, sorry. We're firmly in the relegation battle.
Yeah.
But it's shocking that a sort of club like Manchester United, who finished second, would fall back so badly. But obviously, so there will be an increase. But we did see this against Klopp as well, not so much. And we saw it a little bit under Tuchel, but he had a lot of squad depth. But we saw this under Klopp, that it led to massive injuries in the first season, especially. So if that were to happen, it could get a very sort of tricky period, because in certain positions, we don't have sort of the depth that you would want.
We only have one right back.
Yeah, we have only one right back, essentially. In sort of, I mean, there is no real replacement to Ronaldo, so to speak. Cavani is anyways either injured or going to play for Uruguay and doesn't come back in time. So there are a few problems. So we don't have the depth that Chelsea did. So what kind of sort of, in terms of training and like this sort of physical jump, how do you think the players will deal with that? And which are the few players that you think that, might be able to adapt to this and take their sort of game?
Yeah, fair. I think it's a very important question. It's a very valid one. So I'll address the second part first. Which players will thrive under Ralf Rangnick, or, who will be one of the ones to be watched for? The first player is Jadon Sancho. You can see the guys starting to get confidence after the Villarreal game. You saw that there was a fire in him. We already knew he was potential. He had potential, and that's why he was one of the most coveted targets in world football. We got him, and then under Oli, we played him on the left wing because we couldn't bench Mason Greenwood on the right. So poor guy had to play on the left, and you saw his stats, right? 7 games, 0 goals, 0 assists. That's why the German media labeled him as Bond 007, which they said as Jadon 007, because he's got 0 goals, 0 assists, 7 games, right? So you expect Jadon Sancho to start firing now, because remember that Dortmund played a pressing system. Okay, Marco Rose played a pressing system. Klopp played a pressing system, which means the winger always gets space. And as soon as the winger gets space, he's off. And we saw yesterday, right? Because of floodlights, Jorginho apparently couldn't control the ball. He made a small mistake, and then Jadon Sancho was on it. And we saw ice cold finish from Jadon Sancho, unlike if it was Martial. But yeah, that's one player which I really expect him to thrive under Ralf Rangnick. Second player who will really thrive under Ralf Rangnick is Marcus Rashford. Ralf Rangnick likes any player who can take the game by the scruff of the neck. If you have read his book, right, he always says that as a forward player, there is nothing called as a back pass. You can't do it because you are the outlet of attack. If you pass it back, the opposite team gets time to regroup and then come back at you. And once they start pushing you ahead, then you're already on the back foot. Then you have to wait for that one moment where you can split the defense. You don't get that much time in football. That's what his philosophy says, which is fair. The third player you can expect his life will change is what I think is Mason Greenwood. I've named 3 forwards, okay? And the reason why I've named 3 forwards is because what is our biggest strength? Even under Ole, what was our biggest strength? Our strength was our pace. Every team in world football knew that you press this Manchester United team, they will cut you apart because they don't have anything else. All they have is they will hold your press. One pass, if it falls into either of these three, right, they are going to run you. Ralph Rangnick will do exactly the same. Of course, now we will start pressing more instead of soaking up the press, but these three guys will come and play. Now, the first question: what about the injuries? The physical ability to match. I think these are professional athletes. I don't think there'll be a huge shift in the sense, because one, there is no change in the backroom stuff. It is going to be the same, right? Eh, that's a joke, I agree, but yeah. Mick Phelan might lose his job, but Carrick is going to stay. All the sort of guys are going to stay. So that's not going to change much. So I don't think the intensity of training will change. But what definitely will change is structure, because I think this Man United team needs structure more than a manager. That was the problem with Ole, is what I thought. The team does not have a structure. Team does not have a play style. We were at the mercy of individuals. If Bruno had a good game, we will win. If Bruno did not show up, we will not win. You look at the Champions League, right? I mean, suppose it was supposedly the easiest group. We should have sailed through. But what happened, right? We lost to young boys, and then the tables just turned all of a sudden. So Ralph Rangnick will provide structure to this team, and I think that is more important than any physical changes which he's going to recommend to people.
And in terms of structure, I think this is an important point, and this sort of brings sort of
Mm,
to his sort of so-called transfer target, which has been hyped up in the press at least, is
yeah,
that you have obviously spoken about the attacking freedom. I think even Bruno, I think, will be a much improved player under him because, I mean, just sort of that philosophy of finding space. I think Bruno is brilliant at putting that ball into space.
yeah,
So I think he will also thrive under the system. But defensively, I think one of the main problem we've had is in the defensive structure, and I think this is something Ragnick has spoken a lot about
Mm,
previously. Is that football is about how you set up when you are without the ball,
correct.
and this is something that he has obviously spoken about, and it's his coaching philosophy as much. So, in terms of that,
Mm,
what sort of changes are you expecting to see? And this sort of Haidara has been talked about as the center defensive midfielder who will be
mm,
brought in January.
mm,
So, two questions here is that until we reach January, obviously we know that the Christmas period is a crucial
yeah,
part of any season.
correct.
So, how do you see sort of the setup? I know you spoke about Matic and Bruno, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But do you see we will be more conservative at the back? I think Maguire will come back into the team. Him and
Mm,
Varane, in my opinion, are yet the best partnership. But
mm.
how do you sort of see the setup going? Do you see maybe Ragnick even moving to a back three with a three
See,
five
for,
two
for
formation?
to answer your question, right? You look at the top two defenders, or the top two quality players who Rangnick is known for in terms of defenders. When I say top two, I'll just give you four names, right, who Rangnick had signed. One was Joshua Kimmich. Okay, that was his bargain signing when he was 18 years old, where he signed from Stuttgart, I think, for 500,000 euros. Hardly. He went to Leipzig. Then you look about the guy who played against us for Liverpool, which is Ibrahima Konate. Okay, Jurgen Klopp had personally called Ralph Rangnick a couple of times to ask who's better between Dayot Upamecano and Ibrahima Konate. And jokingly, Ralph Rangnick said, "If you can afford both, why don't you take them both? Because they are going to replace your problem for Virgil van Dijk." Because it was starting to get to a point where Virgil van Dijk started getting niggles, injuries, and there was a lot of dependence on Virgil van Dijk. So those two names, right, Ibrahima Konate and Dayot Upamecano. And if I actually look about the left back, the best left back, or a guy who can play left back, center defensive mid, who right now plays for Real Madrid, scores goals, is David Alaba. All these sort of guys are Ralph Rangnick scouted players, or players who Ralph Rangnick famously had founded. In terms of a defensive structure, if you look at if you look at the names and four common traits, all of them, you see one ability is that they're intelligent as footballers. Forget their playing styles. I will be very stupid to say that Ibrahima Konate is not intelligent. You saw the game against United, where he literally took Ronaldo by just pushing him out wide. Of course, the Klopp tactics comes in picture. In terms of in terms of what happens to Man United, is I don't think Harry Maguire is a straight starter anymore. I think Victor Lindelof will replace him with Rafael Varane, because when you are a team which presses a lot, right, you need centre backs who are calm under pressure. I have seen Harry Maguire falter under pressure countless times. And we have seen that in Euros as well. Harry Maguire cannot deal with pressure very quickly. And that's why teams keep targeting Harry Maguire more than Lindelof. They target Lindelof for aerial balls, no doubt, but they keep targeting Harry Maguire because he's not smart enough, he's not quick enough on top of it, so they will always target Harry Maguire, especially on that Harry Maguire side, right? Because sometimes what happens is when Luke Shaw runs, he's off, then you have to actually wait for Luke Shaw to come back, and then or else Harry Maguire is left all alone. For example, the Steven Bergwijn goal, right? He just left Harry Maguire for dead. We kind of looked at it and we were like, okay, what were you doing? This season Harry Maguire has been shoddy. That stupid goal which we considered against Newcastle, there was no need for him to run till half length of the pitch to try and clear the ball, and then Alan St. Maxim kind of just split him. The game just got open from there on, right? And Javier Manquillo scored. So I think Lindelof and Varane will start more. And also, I think it's good for Harry Maguire to be taken off the firing line right now, strip him off the captaincy for some time, just rest him. That's one. Now, in terms of the transfer target, right? Amadou Haidara. I actually love the guy, to be very honest. I love the guy. He's going to come from Leipzig. Okay, so I definitely know that he's going to come from Ralf Rangnick system because Leipzig still play the same way. Their play style hasn't changed in years. And Jesse Marsh is Ralf Rangnick's student. He was his assistant manager, then moved him to what was it, Red Bull New York Bulls, and then moved to Leipzig team. So of course he knows the system well. It'll be a familiar target, but I am not sure whether the player will want to move to Man United or not, especially after what has happened with a Donny van de Beek kind of a signing. I'm not going to say that it will be a benchmark for it, but that thought will obviously start playing into his head, because in the center defensive midfield or in the midfield, United have 6-7 options. The harsh reality is none of them are good. That's a different story. But I am a regular starter at Leipzig. I play well for Leipzig. I'm hardly 23, 24. There's no need for me to push for a move, right? And he plays for Mali. It's not even a country who's playing in the Euros right now. So I don't have any hardcore need to play for my national team so much that I have to move to a top tier European club. I'm already playing for a top tier European club. My team challenges for top 4 in my league. I'm a regular feature in Champions League. So there is no added advantage of going to Man United. Yes, the only advantage which I can see is, yes, it's a big club. It's a club with history. Am I ready to put myself through the test again, where I want to challenge and see how do I rank up with the best? Of course, all that is given and said and done because you're playing for Man United. But the reality for me is I'm not looking forward to Ralf Rangnick as a manager. The reality is I'm looking Ralf Rangnick as a sporting director 2 years later, because I think United have already seen who are they going for in the summer. They clearly know who they are going for in the summer, because if it was not the case, they wouldn't be bringing Ralf Rangnick right now. Because if I hire hypothetically, right? If I hire Ralf Rangnick and I, let's say, hypothetically hire Jose Mourinho in the summer, it's not adding up, right? Because their playing styles are different. For 6 months, my players are used to already similar playing style. Now, suddenly I'm going to change over the summer. It's not adding up. So I am pretty sure that United have already earmarked who their top 3-4 coaches are, who they're going for. And Ralf Rangnick will be a mediator because his playing style cannot change. And he's a man he's headstrong. There is the reason why they call him the professor, because he knows what he wants to do, and he does not change like Louis van Gaal did, right? My only fear is that it should not end up like a Louis van Gaal term where he comes with all the accolades, and then because of his headstrong nature, things don't work out for him here.
I think you raise a very important point, and this is my thing with Haidara. I think especially because, like you said, I too am more excited with Ragnick sort of coming in as the sort of sporting consultant and technical director, because he's essentially sort of built what Leipzig is today, and in the signings you alluded to, and like there are many others you can talk about in Sabitzer and Forsberg and all of these
Sadio
other players.
Mane, Erling Braut Haaland.
Yeah, so there are many players that he has been able to attract and scout. So that is the one thing that I'm excited for, and maybe because of his sort of reputation, we might be able to sign some of these players who might be unwilling to move in January. I also think Pochettino, as much as PSG have denied it, I think he is sort of more or less going to be our manager in the summer
which
is
I'm not a
now.
huge fan of, to be very honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of Pochettino being Man United manager. Uh, but I do hear the fact that, yeah, he's most likely to replace Ralph Rangnick as
I
the
think
boss.
I think Pochettino as Man United manager would be a good appointment because in many ways I think it is like a Tuchel going to Chelsea like appointment where he sort of Tuchel at Dortmund sort of did what he did, sort of took
Mm,
the team to a certain level, did not win, went to PSG, failed to win the Champions League there.
mm, mm,
Pochettino also is sort of in the similar
mm.
mold, so to speak. And I think he's winning one trophy away, sort of to cement his
He
sort of
blew up.
legacy as
He
a good
blew up a
manager.
one team league, which is the League One. He blew that up completely. He blew Premier League up. Okay, in a two team race, only Pochettino could blow it. He blew it.
Yeah. No, no. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but also like he's the one who made Spurs competitive enough to even be in a two-horse race, which they were
But
not.
that doesn't add up, right? I mean, it's like saying, I mean, your argument would be exactly same like of what Ole stabilized the ship. Agreed. But Ole the man to lead Man United to a Premier League victory against Klopp, Tuchel, and Pep? No. Is Pochettino the guy who's going to compete with them? Maybe, because he's already competed with them and he knows what the standards are. Of course, he's not competed with Tuchel as such, but we all saw what happened to Pochettino when they faced Bayern Munich, right? I mean, Serge Gnabry came back and then haunted London. I'm not saying I'm not going to judge him basis one match, but my worry with Pochettino is that his style of football is good. I appreciate that style of football. Of course, he fits into the United DNA, promote the youth, give them contracts, play them well, and then they become the future stars, etc., etc. Fits well. But is it what we need right now? I don't know, because this team is
Well,
ready to win
we,
a title.
yeah. So get back to that discussion. You said in the beginning of this video that we don't have much to play for,
Hmm.
and this we will wrap it up with this. Is Roy Keane and Carragher had that famously hilarious debate on Sky last evening,
I
and
watched it live. I
obviously.
was laughing. I was like, what are these two gentlemen up to?
So obviously, in our right minds, we're not winning the Premier League. If Ragnick has to get top four, I think that has to be the bare minimum target.
Yeah.
But in terms of the FA Cup, I don't want to say Champions League, but in terms of the FA Cup and Champions League, is there a realistic chance that we can nick a trophy this season? Because
Mm.
what Roy Keane said is what I believe as well. This side is ready, like you said it
Yeah.
right now. This side
Mm,
is ready to win trophies.
mm.
So can Ragnick be the person? Can he be a cup manager and win us one of these trophies?
I think yes. For sure, I agree with you on that. And let me say this about Champions League, and don't take me wrong when I'm saying this. Champions League is like a lottery. Anything can happen there. I've said this on multiple forums. Whatever I know, whatever football I've seen over the last 20 years, I always say this Champions League is like lottery. If you told anyone sensible last year at the start of the season, is Chelsea going to win Champions League? No one would have, people would have looked at you and laughed. They would have like, really, Chelsea, a defense who's leaking. Then what happened in January? Thomas Tuchel came, and then things changed, right? The defense become a lot more stable. They become a lot more compact. They became a team where suddenly everyone was like, you know what? Their defense is fine, not great, but their defenders can attack. If I let them lose my sight, they will haunt me and attack it. And that's exactly what happened, right? Mason Mount suddenly became Lionel Messi for them because whatever he touched turned to gold. So Champions League is like a lottery. I'm not going to say that United can never win the Champions League. It's quite possible. I'm not saying United will win it as well. Because if you ask me honestly, could United have got out of the group stage? I was not very sure after the young boys defeat. I was like, here we go again. We have dug ourselves a bigger grave. Of course, we got through the Champions League thanks to Mr. Champions League. Will we win it? I'm not sure. I don't know. Can we win it? Yes, anything is possible in football. Now, talking about FA Cup, right? We have blown FA Cup under Ole for fun, and we have blown it for fun. The game against Chelsea still haunts me, where he played a jaded Bruno Fernandes. He benched Bruno Fernandes for that game, and then brought him on at the 63rd minute when you're already 2 goals down. Of course, David De Gea, Howler, etc., etc. But you already played that guy for the whole season. Why would you bench him on that game then? If you had to bench him, you could have benched him on some other game, but not on FA Cup semifinals. We lost to Leicester last year. Uh, you know, which kind of I knew that it's going to be a tough game, but come on, man, you're playing in the semis. You're not going to play a Carlisle United or a small team. FA Cup does have this magical runs, but there was no year. The last year there was no team who did that. So which means you're going to play top teams, but we blew that up as well. First season, a lot of people said, it's the first year of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's not used to the job of being a Man United manager. Blah blah blah. Understood, agreed. But this year, this United squad needs a trophy, and I have said to you, multiple podcasts as well. If this squad does not win a trophy this year, right, there'll be a lot of doubts for these players for their own future a year later. They'll be like, I play for the biggest team. This team only qualifies for top 4. I can't win anything with them. I might as well start looking abroad. And this will start right from Bruno Fernandes. As much as we love the guy, as much as the guy is totally passionate about us, remember that he left Sporting Lisbon and came to us because he wanted to win. And if you don't win, and if he's only collecting individual accolades like finishing 21st in Ballon d'Or today, right? And not winning any trophy, which he clearly made it vocal last year as well, that I am not here to, increase my stats of number of goals and assists. I'm here to win a trophy. That's what he said before the Europa League final, because this squad needs a trophy. That is what my belief is. Will Cristiano Ronaldo and Ralf Rangnick lead this team to a trophy? I believe yes, they can lead to a trophy. Which one, I don't know. Honestly asking, I don't know. Having said that, right, Premier League is still 12 points off. No other team in the world is like Leicester City, who will blow up a 14-point lead and help United, come from behind and then qualify. Not everyone is Brendan Rodgers. That's why I said that, Premier League is off. I'm not at all looking at Premier League because it's too much of a gap suddenly. You are expecting one team to lose. You're expecting 3 teams to lose 4 games, and you're expecting yourself not to lose anyone. And remember, we are going to face Arsenal in 2 days. We
No, I
haven't
think
beaten them.
you're completely right, and I think this is what sort of you and me have been saying for a long time. And contrary to popular opinion, that Oli should have been sacked at least 3 to 4 games before, and that would have yet kept us in the Premier League hunt, so to speak. The defeat against
I don't know,
Watford.
Prasham, if you remember, I think the first time actually, and we had a conversation, I always told you that he should not have been offered a new contract at all. Interim job
Yeah.
was done, dusted. United should have gone for a top manager then itself. This whole interim job stability and then giving him a new contract, I wasn't buying any of it, because you can't expect Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to compete with Klopp and Pep. Jose Mourinho couldn't compete with him, and he had to blow off after a point of time. So how do you expect Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to compete? The board had to take a stand. Then they didn't. They went for a man who was a yes man, club legend, because that could appease the fans and all sort of things like that, right? And what happened? We are now again in the phase of rebuilding. Now I'm sick and tired of this rebuilding phase. What else do you need? I mean, if people are going to say that United don't have a defensive midfielder and that's why they're not going to win the title, bullshit. I mean, that's only one reason. That's a convenient excuse for ourselves.
No, the new excuse is we can't win because we have Ronaldo, but we'll get into that in another video. So thanks, Prashant, for joining me. I hope you all have a better idea of what to expect from Ralf Ragnick, because it is going to be an interesting period. And like Prashant said, it might bring a trophy. Cristiano Ronaldo is here to win things. He's not here to sit on the bench. So thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.